Hey everyone, this is Jono. Now, swag is a really powerful way to recognize and reward people. But how do you do it well? Well, in this video, I'm going to walk through a process that I go through to evaluate the right kind of swag to send out. And then I'm going to talk through some of the most popular types of swag and explain how to do them well. Let's go. Alrighty, welcome everybody. I hope you're all safe and well. Now, the first thing we need to do is to think about what kind of swag are we going to send out and what are we going to be rewarding. And I do this with a 4-step process that I've developed over the years. Now, step 1 is going to be, from all of the different options out there in terms of swag, is picking an item of swag that offers either brand or practical value, or ideally both. So brand value is going to be something that you stamp your logo, your motto, your mascot on. It's going to be T-shirts and stuffed toy mascots and stickers and things such as that. Now, practical swag is going to be an item that offers some kind of practical utilization. This could be a USB stick or a travel adapter or a power bank or a water bottle or something such as that. Now, the ideal situation is that you find something that has got practical value, such as a water bottle, and then you're able to stamp your logo on there, and then you get the best of both worlds. The big mistake a lot of people make with swag is they think the most important thing is the act of sending someone something. And it really isn't. I mean, recognizing and rewarding someone is important, but if you send them some crap, it's going to completely devalue the whole point of this. Much as it might sound a bit mercenary, people want good stuff, so we should send them good stuff. Now, the second step here is that we need to make sure that the swag that we send out is commensurate with the value that that person has generated in our community or company. The great thing about human beings is we're very, very incentivizable. And if you incentivize something, you will generate that kind of behavior. So for example, if you say, when you create a blog post for our community, we will send you a piece of swag, you'll get a lot more people writing blog posts. But as I mentioned, the key thing is that the value of the swag is in line with the value that they've generated. So to give you an example, imagine you've got a technology project or a technology company, and a member of your community or company fixes a serious security problem in your website. Now, you could send them some stickers in an envelope, but that would seem a little bit cheap. I think a much more interesting and cooler option, though, will be creating a custom picture with them as kind of a comic book hero that's framed and you get the whole team to sign it. That would be way more special and in line with the significance of the contribution that they've made. Now, the third step here is to make sure that the swag that you're going to be sending out is cost effective both in terms of production and shipping. Now, as a general rule, when using swag, the more units that you buy, the lower the individual unit price goes down. So for example, if you go and buy 50 T-shirts, it's going to be a lot more expensive than buying 500 T-shirts. So one question is, how many of these bits of swag are you realistically going to need, and how long will the shelf life for the swag be? If you have a piece of swag that is dated 2020, by definition it's going to be old at the end of the year when we get into 2021. So you should think about having the maximum shelf life for your swag. Now, where people really get bitten is with the shipping. Most people seem to think, well, we just need to figure out the price of the envelopes and the shipping costs and that's it. But you've got to bear in mind that especially when you're shipping internationally, some countries don't have particularly decent shipping systems where you can track the packages. And in many cases over the course of my career, I've seen packages sent out to a country get returned, and then you've got to reship them out again, and sometimes the cost of that shipping can spiral out of control. So try and think about the overall average cost of shipping, including all the different places you're likely to send out your swag. Now, the fourth step here is to make sure that whatever you send out is as personal as possible. The best swag is always tuned to the individual. So instead of sending someone, for example, just a box of chocolate, if you find out what kind of chocolate they like or what flavors they like and you send them that, it's going to be way more personally aligned with them. Irrespective of what you send them, it's always really, really important to include a handwritten note. It might seem a little bit old school, but when you write a personal message and you sign it from yourself, it really, really, really does resonate a lot more. Alrighty, so let's dig into some of the most popular types of swag and how we can do them as well as possible. The first one I want to talk about are care kits. Now, a care kit is usually kind of a tote bag filled with lots of individual bits and pieces. For example, one time Microsoft sent me a care kit, and it included things like shaving foam and, Band-Aids and practical stuff like that. But it also included some little kits for making cocktails and things to do with gin. And again, that was personal to me because I'm really into gin. I like making cocktails, so that felt like a great piece of swag. The cool thing about care kits is that you often get a lot more bang for your buck because you can include lots of different pieces in there that are both practical and personal. personal in value. Now, what you do need to make sure is that you can send it to someone without it being squashed in the mail. So be very, very careful with anything that is perishable. Now let's talk about T-shirts. T-shirts have been a very popular item of swag for many, many years, and they're awesome because they've got great brand recognition, right? You can put your logo, your design, your mascot, whatever else on them. The key thing about T-shirts is that you want to make sure that they look cool, that they're well designed, that the fabric is nice, that they look fashionable. Ideally, you want to make sure that that's the kind of T-shirt that someone would wear, even if they'd never heard of the logo that you've got stamped on the front of it. To give you an example, the T-shirt that I'm wearing right now is from a brewery called Stone Brewing. When I went to go and record the audiobook of People Powered in San Diego, the guy who ran the audiobook studio took me out for a couple of beers and we went to Stone Brewing. I'm actually not particularly a big fan of Stone Brewing. I prefer other beers a lot more. But one of the reasons why I like this is that it's nice fabric. I like kind of the long sleeve nature of it. It's got a cool logo on the front. You know, it's kind of like a darker color as well. It's not got the bright colors on. It's just very fashionable and it looks really cool to wear. That's what you want to shoot for when you're putting your t-shirt designs together. Now, the tricky thing with t-shirts as well is that they can be notoriously expensive. So first of all, you're going to need two different cuts, one for men and one for women. And then for each of those different cuts, you're going to need multiple different sizes. So if you only go for small, medium, and large in each of those two different cuts, you're already starting out with 6 different sizes that you're going to need t-shirt stock in for. But you're almost certainly going to need more sizes. You're going to need extra small and extra large and maybe extra, extra small and extra, extra large. The other cost that's involved here, of course, is then you're going to need to pay for the screens. If you've got a design on the front and a design on the back, that's going to be 2 separate screens. And as with all of these different types of swag, generally, the more units you buy, the more t-shirts you buy, the more the cost goes down. But the tricky thing with t-shirts is you don't know how many of each size you're going to need to have in stock. It's basically impossible to figure out how many people are going to need different sizes of the t-shirts. So sadly, what often happens with t-shirts is people go out and buy a ton of stock and then they have sizes that they can just never get rid of. I remember one time with a community that I was working with, we had a ton of t-shirts in medium size and we just couldn't get rid of them. Everybody either wanted small or large. And they were just sitting there doing nothing. So while t-shirts are really powerful, just be very careful in making sure that you can do it in a cost-effective way. I would personally much rather try some of these other types of swag first. Now, a type of swag that I'm a big fan of that not a lot of communities tend to use are challenge coins. Now, challenge coins originally come from the US military, and they're big, thick coins that you can really customize and design in any way. You know, you can put different designs on each side of the coin, different colors, different shapes of coin, the edge of the coin, you can have different textures on there, and they look really neat and cool, and they're very satisfying to hold. They're often very weighty and satisfying to kind of put in your hand. The cool thing about challenge coins is that once you've got your design, you can make a ton of them, and then you can have them in stock and send them out whenever you need them. What's also neat about them is that they're small and they're relatively lightweight, and you can pop them in an envelope, so they're a lot cheaper to ship. I think challenge coins are awesome, for example, for accomplishments. The first time someone publishes a new blog post, or they get some code in a project, or they run an event, send them a challenge coin. Or maybe achievements such as the first time they reach a new level in your community, or the first time they become a moderator, send them a challenge coin. They're just kind of a good general reward that you can send out for lots of different things. Now, another kind of swag that I'm a big fan of are books, because books are something that offer practical value. People can read them and develop skills and learn things, or just enjoy reading a fictional story. But you can also personalize them. If you send somebody a hardback or a paperback book, then you can write a nice little note in the front of the book. And people have an emotional relationship with books. We keep them, we put them on our bookshelves. It's not just like another item of swag. It's not like a USB stick. They feel a little bit more special. So one thing that I've done over the years, for example, is when you want to reward someone in your community or company, is figure out what are they interested in. Let's say they're interested in barbecue, go and buy them a barbecue smoking book, and then you can send it to you, personalize it a little bit, and then ship it off to them. Now, you could, of course, buy a book on Amazon, and they've got the ability to print out a little message in a slip that kind of comes with the book. But people will keep the book and they'll throw that little message away. So while it might be a little bit more expensive and a little bit more work, I'd much rather have the book sent to me where I can write my message in the front of the book, so it's part of the book itself, and then send it to the member. A great way of doing this efficiently is to just buy a ton of copies of the same kind of book that a lot of people will probably like. So for example, I'm a big fan of a book called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, and it's a book that really everybody can get value from. So I have a whole stack of them in my house, and I often write a little message in the front and ship them out to people. Now, you might also want to consider ebooks and audiobooks as well. So for example, I was working with a company one time, and when somebody made the first contribution to their community, we'd actually send them an ebook which contained information about the technology that they were using that helped them with their participation in the community. While it's a digital reward, it's still super valued because remember, it offers that practical value. Alrighty folks, if you find this video useful, be sure to hit that like button. It really helps my videos get visibility. But let's move on to the next category, and that is tech accessories. So this is kind of an umbrella set of swag. It can be USB sticks and power banks and those little tile, things that you can pop into a purse or a wallet. So when you lose it, you can find it more easily. It can be presentation flickers, MP3 players, Bluetooth speakers, all kinds of stuff. People love tech accessories, but again, you got to make sure that it's practically useful. For example, one time I was part of a community and they sent me a little Bluetooth speaker and it just wasn't useful to me. First of all, the speaker sounded like crap, it just didn't sound very good. But secondly, I already had a Bluetooth speaker and a bunch of other speakers that I much preferred to use. But compare and contrast this to my wife when she was running her company Bitnami. They gave out these things, and it's basically a USB connector on one side and lots of different adapters for phones and gadgets and whatever else. But the reason why this was so powerful is that it came with this one, USB-C, which a lot of these kinds of little gadgets didn't have. So what they did is they got this, which was practically useful, and they popped their Bitnami logo on the front, and people loved it. So tech accessories are really cool. Make sure that they're practical, and a lot of companies will be able to print your logo or your design on the front. If you can do that, you get the best of both worlds. Now let's talk about stickers. Stickers are great for brand recognition. People pop them on their laptops, on their phones, on their devices and gadgets and other bits and pieces, and it's a great way of showing that you're part of a movement or part of a thing. What I love about stickers is they're super cheap to produce, but you've got to make sure that you get the good stickers. Some people will print out these crappy, just printing on like paper with stickiness on the side of it, and they don't work very well. Eventually they kind of come off and they get all scratched and people don't like them, or they get goo everywhere. You want to buy the decent like vinyl stickers, spend a little bit more, and they'll last a lot longer and people will like them a lot more. What I love about stickers is that they're super easy to throw into an envelope. Very rarely do I ever send stickers out just by themselves as a reward. I usually include stickers with something else, such as a tech accessory or, a care kit or something along those lines. What I would recommend is that just buy a ton of stickers of your company or community, do a load of them in bulk so they're really cheap, again, high quality ones like the vinyl stickers, and then just give them away with all kinds of different things. Put them in swag. When you meet people at conferences, carry some around in your bag and give them out at meetings. They're just a really great thing to have in your back pocket. Now, another piece of swag that's become very popular in recent years are water bottles, because they're practical. You can put your logo on the front. People carry them around with themselves. They take them to the gym or they take them to the office. They're awesome. Now, they've been kind of a little bit overdone. Like, I've got so many water bottles in the cupboard downstairs, but I still think they're a really powerful piece of swag to include. And one of the things I love about them, and a little pro tip, is that, you've got the space inside of a water bottle when you're shipping it to somebody. You should stuff other things in there, such as stickers or a USB stick or a nice little handwritten note that I mentioned earlier on. Make sure you fill that little water bottle. It'll feel like a little bit more of a kit, and you might as well use that space when you're shipping. Another related type of swag that's become very popular as well is fitness gear. People are sending out yoga mats and exercise balls and exercise bands, and if you've got a little bit more budget, sending out fitness trackers. It's actually amazing how many kind of gift style items you can buy for a relatively limited amount of money that's in the fitness arena. I love this kind of swag because it's not just something that's practically useful and you can usually stamp your logo on the front, but also it's an investment. You're saying, I care about you and your welfare and your health, and that's why I want to send you this as well. And let's be honest, frankly, a lot of people who are sitting there on the internet and joining in communities or going to work, they could frankly do with spending a little bit more time exercising. So I think it's an awesome type of swag to send out. Now, one thing you do want to consider, of course, when sending fitness gear out is whether they're able to actually use it. If somebody has got some mobility issues or if they're disabled, then sending them a piece of fitness gear might not actually be useful and might actually be a little bit upsetting for them. So as with all of this swag, make sure that you do your research first to make sure whatever you're sending the person is as finely tuned to them as possible. And then finally, I just want to talk about what I would describe as stuff. It's like just the branded stuff that you often get at conferences. Personalized pens and key rings and fidget spinners and all this kind of stuff. As a general rule, I just stay away from it. I just think it's crap. How many times have you been to a conference and you've picked up a like a branded pen or a key ring, and how many times you've actually found that genuinely useful, or it's really changed your opinion of the brand very significantly? For me, it really doesn't happen that often. I just think that it's tap that people buy. They feel like they need to give something out, especially at conferences, and I think it's a waste of money. I'm a big believer in less is more. I'd much rather save those dollars and spend them on nicer, more refined, more useful pieces of swag that go out to a smaller number of people who will really, really appreciate it. Because those people, when they get that cool piece of swag and the nice little handwritten note, and they're thanked for being part of the community or the company, they're going to go and tell their friends. They're going to say, you know, it was amazing. You know, I did some work for this particular community and they sent me this really cool power bank, or they sent me this really nice water bottle, or this really cool t-shirt with this logo, and I love wearing it and my friends think it's cool. That's the outcome that we want. So there we have it. I hope you found this useful. I'm sure that I've missed off a ton of swag that you think would be cool to recommend. So be sure to go down into the comments and let me know what you think I'm missing out in this video and what you think about the swag that I mentioned here. Whether you've sent it out, whether you find it useful, whether your community members or your company members have found it useful, be sure to go and pop it into the comments below. And if you found this video useful, I'd love you to hit that subscribe button and of course tap that cheeky little notification bell, and I'll see you on the other side.